Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo and you're tuned in to another live edition of a Q&A with you and me. I do one of these every weekday. You can watch it live as well as all of our other live streams. We do 4 of them usually every weekday. All you need to do is become one of the Supernomies, aka the patrons. Starting at just $2 a month. You get all the live videos plus tons of other bonuses. So thank you for your support for me to be able to continue to do this for everybody. You're all my nomies, and you're about to hear the answer to the question that has been posed of me, or posed to me. It's been asked, what are the top Disney movies for geeks and nerds? So I wrote this down on a sticky so that I would not forget anything. Now, some of these that I'm going to identify, I'm only going to list my top 5 geek or nerd movies from Disney. Some of them may surprise you. Now, I'm not talking about new types of Disney acquisitions, or at least a Disney-related project, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or any of the Star Wars movies, which have not yet been published as of the time of this particular live stream. I'm talking about Disney, straight-up Disney movies. I've got 5. You may agree, you may disagree. In fact, I'd be interested in knowing whether or not you agree or disagree. In no particular order. Tron. Come on, how this has got to be in anybody's top 3 list. I would say that the first time I saw Tron, I was enthralled. Of course, being very, very young at the time, it was a breakthrough in so many ways. In fact, I remember watching behind the scenes on a DVD special, like a, director's cut kind of thing, and I ended up watching all the bonus, not just the bonus footage, but all of the behind the scenes stuff, at least from the official source. And it was just amazing to see how it came together, how it almost didn't come together. The visual effects in Tron were breathtaking, and of course the soundtrack, Wendy Carlos, aka Walter Carlos. Still it's stuck in my head, and I could watch Tron today and be just as entertained as I was back in the day. Of course, we've seen a sequel for Tron be released. Some people didn't like it as much, and I'm not even wanting to talk about the sequel, but let's just go with the Tron universe. I loved the soundtrack for the sequel, or the follow up for the Tron movie. Tron 2.0, whatever. Some people didn't like it. I didn't mind it. I didn't love it. I loved the original movie. The newer one, not as much. I was fascinated by it, but still feel that Tron could have survived, and may still survive as a series, and not just the cartoon series that was done a few years back, or at least started a few years back. I watched a bit of it, but just ultimately couldn't get into it as deeply as I was able to with the movie, and that's not always the case when it comes to cartoons. So I still feel that Tron would be a universe that Disney has not yet fully explored, and could fully explore at some point. I never even got into the video game. But then again, I'm not really, that much of a video game enthusiast as much as other people are in the community. But it was always fascinating to me. I only had one of the toys. I traded it, the action figure, for Flynn in way back when, and I think I may still have it somewhere. Oh, I should have pulled it out if I could find it. I wanted to get. They ended up doing a reboot of the figures, basically based on the same molds, and I may be getting those at some point in the future, if only because I did enjoy Tron, and I would say easily in the top in the top 5, my top 5. Okay, so now that I've talked about Tron, this video might as well have been called Tron at this stage. Another one, relatively obscure, but when I was growing up, we had the Disney Channel, and this was back in the day. Cable was brand new. As I was growing up, early on, we didn't have cable. Then cable became a thing. So having access to a show, or the Disney Channel, or channels like the Disney Channel, it was amazing. We were able to access the back library of Disney content that otherwise we would have to discover at the local video rental store, if they even had video rental stores at the point where the Disney Channel launched. Content was different back in the day. The computer wore tennis shoes. So Kurt Russell, basically, effectively, his brain was taken over, or partially taken over, by a computer through a series of incidents. And I remember just thinking, boy, it would be amazing to have all that information, and not knowledge, information in your brain, and to be able to regurgitate it at a moment's notice. and it was fantastic. I mean, to watch that in a movie that was old even when I was young, and just to think, what would happen if we had access to that kind of technology, or it blended with us in some kind of way. Now, granted, this would be an outlier, but speaking to cybernetics, I think that there will come a time in the future when we will be able to have that kind of access to information. Not to say that there will be a computer in our brain, but I think something's going to happen in that direction. I just don't know what. What was previously sci-fi, I think, is quickly going to become science. Maybe not within my lifetime, but I think eventually. The next one, Big Hero 6. I don't think this should surprise anybody if you saw the movie at all. It was pretty much all technology, all sci, all tech. And I appreciated a lot about Big Hero 6, not just the soundtrack, not just the art, the animation, not just the story, but I thought the underlying themes of Big Hero 6 were fantastic. So insofar as, anybody, no matter who you are, where you're from, background, gender, sex, whatever, it doesn't matter. You could harness the power of science and technology to transform the world. And I thought that was an outstanding underlying theme for Big Hero 6. And of course, the whole idea of, robots and creating robots and being creative with technology at your fingertips. That's how discoveries happen. And so it was nice to see it in cartoon form. I did not see it in the theater, as I had mentioned when I did my review last week, the week before. I rented it. It was a free rental. I think I earned the redeem code. But I thought it was worth watching. It was, if you consider yourself someone who's interested in sci, tech, nerdy, geeky stuff, it certainly would be in my top 5. Number 4, okay, this is, again, in no particular order, another classic Disney film. Now, I thought about this. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to narrow it down to the top 5. I thought about it. I almost talked about the Witch Mountain series, which I thought was pretty cool. I loved that series. But if I were to say what would be more nerdy or geeky, the Bed Knobs and Broomsticks would be right there. I thought that was incredibly geeky. I mean, it was all about magic and mystery and universes beyond our own, or our own understanding of how things are and the way things are not. It's a classic Disney movie. Yes, it's got music in it. In fact, music that sometimes gets stuck in my head. But it's certainly worth watching. I cannot wait. Hopefully, Jedi will be patient enough to watch it with me. But when I was growing up, it was one of my favorite Disney movies when it ran. I really enjoyed it, despite it having some amount of darkness. It was just magical enough. It walked the line, like a lot of Disney movies have, of being not quite scary, but scary enough and exciting enough. I've always enjoyed that movie, and I thought it was incredibly, because of the this is the closest thing, actually, I'll give you the equivalent. This is the closest thing I had to Harry Potter, honestly, and it wasn't even the same. But Bed Knobs and Broomsticks has very, very Harry Potter-esque tones to it. And so if you liked Harry Potter, you're probably going to like, I feel like I'm, one of those computerized, if you like this movie, then you'll like that. You may also like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. I would be surprised. If you ever liked Harry Potter, watched Harry Potter, read Harry Potter, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, I think, is right up your alley. Diagon Alley, possibly? Okay, and then the last one, I'm going to round this out. Wreck-It Ralph. Saw this movie for the first time on a flight and enjoyed it. I was always a fan, or have always been a fan, of the 8-bit classic games, or the idea of a different reality existing, beyond the screen. Tron, certainly spoke to that. I fight for the user. But Wreck-It Ralph was, I thought, very well done. And great animation, great story, great characters, fun, very, very fun, even for an adult, watching that movie. And sometimes it's very difficult as an adult watching something that's obviously, it's geared towards kids, but also has certain values for adults. And I think that's the value of Wreck-It Ralph is, yes, it's a movie that'll be for kids, but adults could watch it and feel like Disney's tapping their nostalgia bone, wherever nostalgia bone. I guess it's somewhere it's right above the heart. The nostalgia bone is, well, yeah, not physically. Well, yes, it's like collarbone, rib area. This is the nostalgia bone, right? The thing that gets tickled when you watch something, and then it reminds you of the way things used to be. And I think Disney did a very good job with that. Wreck-It Ralph, I think, has a lot of rewatchability. I think it was fun to see these characters come to life and to imagine a reality beyond the reality that we see here. And I think that's very geeky, very nerdy, and fun to explore. So those are my top five. Liz, who's watching the chat during this live video, said Flight of the Navigator. I remember I don't know if I liked Flight of the Navigator. I wouldn't have put it in my top five. Maybe top 10. I know a lot of people liked it. I thought it was neat, but it didn't hook me. There's certain things that it takes to hook me, and that just never hooked me. Couldn't say. I mean, I could watch it again and maybe have some amount of patience for it, but would not be in my top 5 Disney movies for geeks and nerds. There you go. There's my answers, my responses. Thank you for asking the question. It was very, very fun to explore and to think about. You can still watch those movies today. They haven't been yanked. Still very much. Any one of these movies I could watch again. Some of them again and again and again and again. So thank you for asking questions. Thank you for your attention. I do love you. I do appreciate you. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.